My desktop was the restroom for more than a year, and I hired a team of like 18 people at the time. And I did it all in these kind of conditions.
Welcome back to another episode of Off to the Valley. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Hila Lauterbach, a Silicon Valley based go to market strategist and entrepreneur. Hila co founded 10x GTM, where she partners with high growth SaaS companies to accelerate revenue and scale impact. She's a 3-time top 100 product marketing influencer and a best selling author who has spent over 15 years helping startups and enterprises grow from early stages to multimillion-dollar ARR milestones. Beyond her impressive career, Hila is passionate about empowering immigrant women founders through her leadership at Femigrants, creating opportunities and connections in the tech ecosystem. Hila, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and there is so much I want to talk to you about.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and likewise.
Awesome. So Hila, tell me a little bit about your journey. Your move from being a founder in Israel to moving to Silicon Valley and starting your own venture with 10x GTM. How did all of that happen?
Sure. I think that we're story like many immigrants, founders that come to the US, starting with a small dream. So I grew up in Israel in a very, very entrepreneurial environment. My dad is an entrepreneur. So I really had this luck and say the opportunity from a very young age to really work and be in a kind of environment of entrepreneurship. So I've been watching and learning, and it really made me want to build something on my own, and kind of an early stage. Over the years, I've co-founded two startups, three actually in the B2B SaaS area, and HR tech and healthcare. And when I was 25, I won the 3-day startup competition in the Technion. It was a 3-day intense competition in the medical school and innovation. And this is opened my way to the US. I came as a partner of Harvard. They invited us to see investor and to get the kind of early exposure. And then with my next startup, which I created with my co-founders as part of my executive MBA, I won the Color Startup competition in the University. And this was wild because they sent us as a prize to 1871 Accelerator in Chicago. So I was a young mom with 6 weeks baby. And it was quite a decision to make, to come here to the US for the first time with my baby and build a company and try to get the investors meeting and balance, juggling between all of those elements and go to PR and all this stuff. So this has really opened my eyes to see how big is the US, how many opportunities, how amazing is this market. And it opened my perception, my perspective to make the change. So this experience brought us in the end to Chicago. And after 3 years there, my husband started his MBA in Chicago Bulls, and we moved to Silicon Valley. And it's really kind of opened a new chapter. And here, the past 6 years, been head of product marketing, VP, in startup that grew and scaled tremendously. And after all this journey, I decided to come back to my foundation and open my own company. And I had the luck to do it with a wonderful co-founder called Renat. And this is what we do today. We're a GTM and consultancy firm that both have AI agents or positioning elements and also support all aspects of go-to-market for SaaS and AI.
That's amazing, Hila. I have a few follow-up questions there. Thanks for sharing your story. You did say that, your background or your family background in entrepreneurship played an important role. How do you think, what are some of those tangible skill sets that you think gave you an advantage over maybe others who might not have had that kind of background?
From my family background, yes.
Yeah.
It's huge. I'll tell you that. But the big joke in my family is that my dad used to read me MBA books when I was still in the Valley. I grew to this kind of environment. I got when I was 10 or 15 and all in between. He was sharing with me big decision, bold discussion in boardrooms. He asked for my opinion. So I felt very empowered. I got both the knowledge, actually, reading the right book and everything, but the mindset to be curious, to ask questions, to be extremely humble, to know how much I don't know, and to be a lifelong learner, to ask, to read, to go, to investigate. And also monetization, I would say from a money perspective, I came from wealth, but I never got the money as is. What it means that I needed to work hard, and it also always matched or supported me. But the idea was that we were expected to be our own, dependent, like independent people, me and my sister, and put me in a position that I always look for a way to do bigger stuff, more interesting stuff, innovative stuff, and to be in a place and place that I'm, owning my own line, that I have my own earning, and that I keep, building myself as a person, as an independent woman and a model. And it's huge. I think that it's a huge mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you say that the mindset is one of the biggest things as far as an entrepreneurial journey is concerned, and which is why a lot of times founders that become repeat founders continue to improve significantly, because a lot of that mental challenge keeps getting solved over time. So yeah, so every founder that's listening or is struggling with something, it's basically because your parents did not read MBA books to you when you were in the belly.
Yeah, I was struggling. I was up with that. People love to see in the end of the year it's a lot, like you look successful and stuff like that. But life was a lot up and down. If you imagine many, many years, 2 kids, moving to relocating to US without family in COVID time, I had a lot of downtime. That's very hard. I had failure. Some of my stuff didn't work as well. So I think that I was open enough to be not perfect. I was open enough to try, to fail, to create an environment for other people and employees that I had to really test a lot and to be in a position that we fail, we learn, we iterate, we run quickly. But I made mistakes, and it was never that kind of like smooth way I wish it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah, you said a little bit about you giving yourself some space also, and your employees and team to space to make mistakes and learn. What else do you recall from your early days of moving to the US as an immigrant? Like, what did you exactly do to build some of that community or that feeling of connection? Because one of the things as immigrants is like you leave behind your friends, your family, your support system, and you move to a new place and you're already trying to do something challenging and like building a startup. And to add to that, like you lose your closest ecosystem of support. In your recollection, what are some things that you did in those early days?
Oh, wow. It's emotional. So I came from Israel and I came from a very robust, I would say, support system. I had my friends for life, lifelong friends from like 30 years. I had my mentors, many women that opened doors for me. And when I moved here, I didn't know a lot of people. Actually, in Chicago, I didn't know anyone. My English was fine, but not creative. And I had a lot of challenges. And I would say that the first thing that I understand is that I need community and support system. And I was very open in sharing my needs and finding the people. So I reached out. At the time, it was like Product Marketing Alliance, was a small community in London. And I reached out to the team asking, how can I learn? How can I support? It was very early on. Today, they're extremely successful, the biggest movement in their area. And I found local communities, online communities, podcast communities, everything that made me the opportunity seeing in Chicago and be part of something bigger than me, both in product marketing that I was growing into and both in entrepreneurship. Later, it was a combination. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and COVID hit 6 months into the relocation. I had 2 babies, 4 and 2, and I started my first job in a startup in fintech as a head of product marketing. And the only place I could work was a small restroom, literally. And my desktop was the restroom for more than a year. And I hired a team of like 18 people at the time. And I did it all in these kind of conditions. So one, I was humble. Second, I became resilient and started to keep it forward. Like I build teams, I bring women in and create opportunities for immigrants as much as I can. And then mentoring them, supporting them, finding them speaking opportunities. The next job is feeling the kind of keep it forward and this perception of like, I've been so lucky to be here and to live this type of life. How can I make it easier for others?
That's amazing. And I think that's a good segue to learn a little bit more about how you are helping others, especially your work with Femigrants and, the women immigrant founder community. Can you share a little more? And maybe even for context, right? Like I'm sure myself included, and, I am an immigrant here as well, but Many people don't understand the true challenges. So maybe you want to set a little bit of context also, like why is it more challenging for women immigrant founders, and what are you doing to sort of help and support them?
Of course. So to women at all, like they're trying to fund, venture, it's very hard. I live in Silicon Valley. I moved here. I thought that I'm going to find tons of entrepreneurs like me, raise much more money than I do, and having my community. It's not that easy. There are wonderful women here, but not so many, and they did not raise as a scale enough. A lot of not speaking about individuals, speaking about them, us as a community. And add to this equation the fact that you're coming from a foreign country with some business issue, not just one, not your language, not your ecosystem, not your support system, and you're trying to build an environment that is foreign to you. I can tell you in the most honest way that the first times I sit in an open meeting here with engineer, huge teams, I was overwhelmed. I felt like, what are they speaking about? Their language, their terminology, even the full history and culture element they knew and I didn't. So I was sitting there trying to, be engaged or at least not to be so awkward. And this is a real struggle. Now imagine that some of these women are a bit more shy or not that out there. And they find it so hard to pitch, to get this opportunity to even be in front of the ventures. So Femigrants, that was always like the most amazing ITech here in Java, is an organization that supports diversity and inclusion and doing that by taking few immigrants that leading tech ventures and connecting them with pieces that are more open and interested in supporting and funding women. And one, it's amazing. I think that it's creating such amazing opportunities, and I see myself like supporting ITK and the community and connecting the dots and helping them to pitch, to understand, go to market, stand in the right way in front of these right rooms and put themselves in a position to give them opportunity to grow. And we see, the funny stuff that people think about it sometimes as a charity, but it's not, because if you see BCG, McKinsey, and some other great research from the upcoming 2 years, they speak about correlation between women-led tech to actual revenue ROI to investors. But it's kind of like crazy to think that just less than 2% of the actual venture funds come to women-led tech. So I'm trying to change this number. And one of the things I'm doing, other than mentoring, hiring women, I hired about 50 women in the past decade. Now I have the rights for the film and back show where the money film rights for screening and panel, and we're creating more and more awareness between VCs, creators, founders, obviously, women in tech, even people and kids from high school in our community to ensure that we find and discuss these opportunities to take this 2% into 10% and to change opportunities to see more women leading their own startups. So this is my mission, to really ensure that we all empowering each other, creating this type of communities and create more profit to our investors in the end of the day.
That's amazing, Hila. Like, kudos to you for your commitment to this cause and, for working hard for this. It's amazing. Let's talk about another amazing work that you do with 10x GTM, right? Tell us a little bit about how you started this company and what's some of the work that you are very proud of.
Sure. So I would say that I created this company with my wonderful co-founder, Rinat. We met 3 years ago in one of these industry summit in product marketing, and then we had a deep connection that started as a friendship and grew as a beautiful partnership. We both, I would say, complement each other. So we both come from companies from small startup in seed, then to unicorns and even multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies. And we've seen many playbooks. We've seen how to come from 0 to million to 10, 10 to 100, how to 300, and then the huge numbers. And we have seen some commonalities. We started to see some points of scale, some elements that you playbook them or call them a go-to-market roadmap at some level. You started to see a path that you need to check mark and do things with that. And obviously it's different in different companies. So we wanted to take this, passion we both have and all the entrepreneurs around us have, and to ensure that we take this kind of passion we came from afar and make it more of traction, to ensure that we create repeatable revenue, that we put the right path to scope to market. So we bring together the knowledge and we created our playbook and pivots and patterns and started to codify the work we're doing, started to codify the framework. So we built our first AI agent to support both positioning. So if you speak with him, you'll see it's provoking your conversation. It's going to push back on you and to ask you hard questions to ensure that again you get the right report. And you started to think right, not just about what your story is, about the entire angle and your ICP and how you are positioned in your market. Other than that, we started working with amazing companies and companies, SaaS companies. So I would say one of the things I'm most proud of is like working with clients that joined the early stage and received the first deal, the second deal, and then the flow and started to see the pipeline, going out. And, innovative collaboration happen around the world, and, meeting amazing people and starting to see revenue coming and scaling. And doing that with integrity, doing that when great places that you are also understanding deeply your client. You have the passion not just for for the solution or for your product, but you're actually in love with your problem, in love with the buyers. So I think combining those two and ensuring that you really focus on taking this passion and conviction into a repeatable revenue, building the roadmap and supporting them with the deep understanding about how you actually build a go-to-market system. How do you think through that? You can checkmark all the elements to ensure that you are the right point to scale, and then taking it to what we created kind of a flywheel, speak about our 5 A's to go to market. As simple as that, ensuring that you really think about your audience deeply. You're going deep to understand your angle, your story, and what unique element you bring into the equation that puts you in the market as someone that is going to be chosen over your competitors. And then thinking about how we measure those, how we ensure that we have this assessment, the right KPIs, the right OKR as a company, to ensure that what we do is not just a good story, but it's actually measurable across all different elements of the company and have alignment. And then iterate and activate and ensure that you have the right, channeling in place, the right mixture. You think about all the motion, and then in the end, you iterate. You are ensuring that you all the time check yourself and connected to market trends, competitors' changes, barriers that come and goes, and all the time on top of your things to ensure that you're really, really, changing with the market and optimizing your solution so you always, spot on.
That's great, Hila. Thanks for sharing that. And, this leads me to a question that I was going to get to you at some point. But, you said a lot of different strategies, a lot of different things you could do on the GTM side, right? And myself as a GTM leader with, like almost 15 years of experience, a lot of it made sense. But one of the common challenges like a lot of early stage founders have who don't have this GTM experience is, should I invest in content marketing, paid ads, events, product led growth, partnerships? Like there are so many things to do.
Right.
Do you have a decision tree or rule of thumb at this stage? Like if somebody is an early stage company, let's say they are doing, hypothetically, they are doing maybe 10K in MRR, right? What should they look at, right? Is there some way to sort of figure out these are the areas you should invest in?
So yes, one of the things that helped me most in coming back to this kind of like perception is to think about your ICP. Because when you have nailed your ICP, your client profile, and your segments and your personas card, you actually started to know where are they? Who are these people? What do they care about? What are they main pain and where are they going? And for me, one part of the research we're doing is to really double down where to go. So I would say that usually when we think about like sales-led growth, not PLG, we see that events are, for us in most cases, are a good conversion way. We see that partnership and building strong ecosystem, partnership is strong for us for referral and opportunities to collaborate with complementary solution. I will say that everything around ads, everything about like campaigns, it's very, very challenging. The cost acquisition is very high. The competition is high. And usually when you put money in digital marketing early, in early stage, you find that you might wasting time, wasting money because it's not focused on the right client. So I would say nail down your strategy, not just to, to do it for months, but to really understand your market competitors, position, and the story in ICPs, and then building this kind of mixture. I would say something that might be interesting and relevant for here. One of my biggest strategic partners for really not called Premonio. And they are a platform that really helps leadership teams to connect between the data-driven go-to-market plans and to ground them back to reality. and not just like general assumption. What they do, they correlate between the different levers and they show you the mixture of potential opportunities in market. And that how to connect to the revenue goals. So it helps you to be able to reverse engineer and understand how much money is also putting into the channels to achieve your goals. So this is something we're using our clients right now, and it's supporting not just our assumption, what we learned in research, but it's actually deeply embedded in the numbers.
And what do you think are certain milestones for, at least founders in that early stage, right? If we consider founders that are still in that $0 to $1 million journey, are there can you think of, let's say from a GTM perspective, 2 or 3 milestones that they should focus on hitting before they worry about scaling?
Yes. So I would say that the foundation is a coding. And you need to think very strongly about how we start. So I would say, from my perspective, when you want to reach the first milestone of $1 million, it's not about the skill. The very first point is just to ensure that you focus on the right places. So I would say fall in love with the problem, not your product, not your feature. We all come in like, we have this innovation solution and it's AI based. Nobody cares. People care about what's, worries them and how we ensure that you really, really love solving the problem. I would say that when I look about companies I used to work with, the one that's really obsessed with understanding clients deeply, listening, testing, seeking with your clients. These are the ones that constantly shaping the product and changing in the right way. And this is very crucial. I would also say that the first 10 to 15 customers are everything for the business. You learn so much from the good and the bad, from your ICP, from what's great traction, from what's failed, from willingness to pay. And if you go deep for why did they buy it from you? Why did they stay? You already found that it's a really, future playbook to scale the change to iterate. And I would say that momentum really comes from focus. Not trying to overachieve, to create multiple products, to purchase companies. Focus on one, max 2 ICPs, clear one story, and the focus of the shape and the motion you want your business. And I would say that really need to ensure that you support a culture in the company, that it's supportive, creating this safe space, creating opportunities for people to come with innovative ideas, not afraid to test and fail quickly. And coming with all this together, with the knowledge, with the data, and with the really feeling the market, helping to come back to what we discussed about the right story, the right recipe, the right focus. How do we make them really trust and get this kind of repeatable motion and repeatable payment?
Great. So just double clicking that a little bit more. If you're an early stage founder, you don't have, a lot of brand awareness built so far. What are some early marketing pipeline generation tactics that you've seen work well?
Content is huge because it puts yourself as an expert out there and you started to be known for your area. And specifically, if you're coming from a new innovative area and it's not like a very standard category. So it's critical to be in a place of educating, putting the tone, being frontline in thought leadership and PR and content. Second is events. I find it very, very successful for early stage companies. Again, not just even to be shown and put tons of money, to be in the right event. Sometimes they're not that big. It can be webinars, it can be meetups, it can be this. When I'll tell you a story, years ago, I worked with entrepreneurs that work with AWS to bring cloud solutions. And we used to do tons of small meetups of 20 to 25 people. The biggest, conversion came from that. So it was huge for us. And this is something that I'm doubling down on. I would say webinar and events generally works well. And then there's a lot of question about the demand gen. I would not push to ads into, I see people put so much money on digital marketing. Yes, the website should look good. The one page should look good. You need to have the right touch points aligned in all your places. So your pitch deck and your marketing people need to have the same story. But you build a product, you build a relationship, and I would say that content plays well, social media and events as a starting point.
That's amazing. And what do you think is some common mistakes that founders make in that early phase? Something that especially on the face of it might seem like, okay, it's probably a good thing to do, but actually slows you down.
So it will be vice versa. Losing focus, running to too many places, coupled with too many opportunities because they need X, Y, Z, and they want to go after every client that wants to pay. I can understand that deeply and empathize with that, but I think that they're losing focus. So in all elements of losing focus is taking you down the trail. Second, many of the entrepreneurs I'm working with early stage, they're very, focused on like taking everything around them, and it's very not easy to delegate and to share the work and to ensure that everybody in the company speak the same, understand the same. So they become a bottleneck and they become the main decision maker. And if it comes just to the biggest business picture, fine. But it's come to they're impacting the image in the website and the specific content going to everything. And I think that this overprotective environment creating silos and disconnect and slowing down the company. Other stuff I would say, again, running after a beautiful product, beautiful feature, want to have ego elements. They want to have more. They want to scale fast. They want to have multiple feature, multiple solution. But sometimes it's just not embedded in what the market and the client actually need. And this will come to another point that you need to really think about your category, which is a lot of time I don't see people think about their product. Why is it so critical? Because if you're not thinking in the framework of a category, you might find yourself in a situation that your potential clients, checking and comparing you to other players and what they think your category, they put you there. And then you lose because you're not meeting the feature and expectations. So ensure that you're in the right category, building the right solution for that, having a clarity to the roadmap and where you go and clear milestones, communicate it internally, which is a lot of time entrepreneurs missing the communication. They run so fast. Communicating, ensure that all the teams know what's going on, having these weekly updates, creating, even if you want to run fast, people think that we don't still need the CRM or we don't need the process in place because we're running. It's not true. Very early to bring the people that run fast with you, but when you scale, they'll be there to build your processes in place to really define the flows. And I would say that everybody now speaks about AI, right? And it's such a buzzword, but in the end, AI is an enabler. And you need to build the right processes that is going to, amplify or enable, but it's not going to replace. So not trying to build agents, trying to build full, clear foundation, and on top of that, to add the tools, the aesthetic.
It's interesting you brought up AI because, like, obviously the world's changing towards AI. Marketing has changed so much in the last couple of years because of AI. And we are still pretty early, right? Like you said, AI is enabling us to do a lot more things, but do we have the right workflows? So do you think that is like the biggest shift that founders need to plan for? Like, it's not about getting 5 other AI tools. Like, how does this fit into the workflow? Like, one of the things that I was sharing with a couple of founders a few weeks ago was, there is this, you keep noticing certain tools. Oh, tools looks great or whatever. Maybe we should buy that. And I'm always telling them, like, what is your pain point? Like, look at your pain point first, then go find a tool that helps solve that pain point. But here you're trying to, oh, here's this tool that everyone is talking about, and you're trying to find a pain for it. And you want to buy it just because it's like suddenly talk of the town. So what do you think is that like biggest shift that founders need to plan for now that there's going to be more of this AI push?
Yeah, and I laugh because it's fun, it's actually come to the same points. Everybody run after the tools because we think it's going to we try to create a problem for the tool, and it's exactly like being involved with your solution and also your clients. I think that, AI is here to stay. It's one of the biggest exponential growth in innovation and tech, like has been in decades. But the thing is that what I'm worried right now when I look at my LinkedIn feed, really smart people speaking there, but we're all running in the weirdest way after one-off agent, one-off solution, the next tool. It take me back, my co-founder said something so smart. If you take us back to the days before the cloud, and in a legacy way that each one was like building to themselves. And what I'm trying to put a point is that you need to think about the company as holistic. Yes, you can have a flow and specific, elements in your different departments that you're going to amplify and solve with AI and to make more efficiency, which is great. But we're not now in the days, and we will be there, that you think holistically of a company from A to Z and starting to think how you codify and how you build the AI to support the company completely. So currently, the silos solution Yes, you need to be on top of your things. Yes, the people that you are going to hire in different departments, even the marketing people, sales people, need to be aware to AI tools around them because it's going to fasten their job to make their life easier. But the running, this race that take us to be all over the place, just to show that we implemented AI and we're using the right words, I found it weird, honestly. I'm not really understanding that because most of the implementation that I've seen, including in the like big tech companies, is not yet there. Of course, the tools like Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, and all of these stuff are great. And, obviously you need to take a grain of salt, great to research and to use on the day to day. But a lot of these GTN elements that are going to support the tissue between the line are not yet developed to the level that they can really do extraordinary job. So everything you need to take in with a grain of salt. You need to do your own research. You need to be on top of your project. Even if I'm working with outreach companies now on LinkedIn and they're using, Self Navigator to Play, to Apollo and all the great stuff, you need to really check it out to ensure that the messaging resonate, that they reach out to the right ICP. The fact that the tools are there, not replacing the human, the human in the loop and the critical thinking.
That's great, Hila. I think one of the challenges is also like knowing the right metrics to even track. Like even if you're building a workflow and a process, that is, what are you really tracking? And that brings me to the next question is, a lot of times founders ask around what is the right time to pivot or to stop something. Like I'm not talking about the company at large, but some GTM experiment, right? You might have been testing out a channel. And to give you some more background there, it's so common that you're trying to do so many things at the same time that you're not resourcing a particular experiment well, both in terms of money and human hours. But you run it for some time and then you decide, oh, this is not working, it's not giving us the results, so you move on to something else. How do you make sure that you are defining the right experiment? What are the metrics you should look at? And then, at what point do you decide now it's time to end this experiment and pivot to something else or try something else?
It's a great question. And the answer here is complex because the experiments can go to so many different places. So I would say that ads in Google, you can test in 1 or 2 weeks and you have clarity about the reach, about the work, conversion ads. When it comes to outreach in LinkedIn, it takes more time. You need to build the account of the founders or whoever the person is. You need to ensure that the script is in place, that the ICP is well defined. And then you're starting to do your enrichment. And many times you have some blockage from LinkedIn itself that limit the number of like invitation you can send, that limit the number of connection you can have. And then even that might take 4 to 5 weeks to settle. So after having all this foundation, I would say that between 4 to 12 weeks, depends on the outreach you get. And then you start to see what works with it. And sometimes what I usually do is that I start with an outreach and then making shift in the messaging, going to opening line and checking all of those. And then if I see that there is a miss, I'm going back to our last deal flow, to our last opportunities, conversation in the market. And it happened to me more than once. And we started with audience X. And we saw that there is value for them, but for the long term, not going to bring monetization in 6 months. And we shift that and changed the focusing ratio. So now this audience became 30% and other audience became 70% of the testing. And it took another 6 weeks to start doing that. Sometimes we started to see early signals. We get few conversion, we get the first or second deal, but it's still not consistent. We go deeper with the research to ensure, okay, this is the ICP. Can we find in this ICP like sub-segments, sub-use cases that are, more qualified for early stage adopters for those? And sometimes we find that this is the fast burst to use. So we come to these early adopters, building our use cases, having 1 or 2 great clients. This is all proof of concept and using this as a case study to bring the bigger clients or the different clients that don't want to be the first. So this is just like the idea of stuff that we've done in the past few months with some of our clients.
That's amazing, Hila. Thank you so much for that answer. And hopefully all of this is a lot of guiding light towards knowing more about how to run your business well in the early stages. As we get closer to the end of the podcast, I have a couple of quick rapid fire questions for you, a little more fun. So if you're ready, I'll go ahead and ask them.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So if you had a chance to have dinner with some tech icon, whatever, living or past, who would it be and why?
I wanted to find a woman name because this is my instinct. But I will say Steve Jobs. I know it's very cliche. Why? I just went to my car today and I heard a podcast. And in the podcast, they talked about how innovative, how visionary, and how revolutionary he was. So I want to understand his mindset, what brings him to become what he became, what made him to focus on his purpose and make this huge change in technology and creation. So I'm really curious to learn from people like that.
Okay, awesome. What's one way for you or your favorite way to sort of unwind after like a big project or, you've just got done with a lot of work? What is your definition of unwinding?
So kind of like balancing my life.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I did all the stuff. I have a lot of like areas of interest. I'm player in the pro league of the US. I'm doing,
nice.
I love that. I'm doing meditation and yoga. I'm traveling the world after art affairs. I really love art. I'm writing poetry. I'm hosting poetry events. I do pottery and so many other stuff. But honestly, I'm trying to ground myself, to take some time to be surrounded by people I love, by my friends, to go to the nature, and to really focus in before I'm coming back out with a lot of energy.
That is
Yeah.
amazing and so, so important, right? I've been meditating for about 17, 18 years now. And just recently, a couple of months ago, I did a teacher training program to teach meditation. And that's been so rewarding because it's only been 2 weekends that I've been teaching now. But it is just like there is obviously a lot of benefit you see when you're meditating yourself, but there is so much joy in enabling others to learn the technique and you see them transform in just 2 to 3 days time. It's just a lot of it just gives me a lot of joy, so I'm so happy to know that you have that practice too.
I really think that it changed you. Like, for many years I wanted to start. And I was like most of the people saying, like, I don't know how to start. I don't know how to, quiet my mind. And when you learn the technique and you know it's more than me, when you practice like that, it changes everything. The way you open
Yeah,
your day, the clarity you get, the grounding, how grounded you are. It's really changed my life. So it's very cool to hear it and share it.
it's amazing. If you weren't in tech and startups, what would be your dream job?
I would be a writer. I would be like author of a novel.
Nice, that's amazing. Okay, last thing, we are closer to the end of the year also. Like, what's something that you are looking forward to in 2026 personally, or even with 10x GTM? What are you excited about next year?
I'm really excited about from a professional perspective, growing a business, having more strategic partnership, working very close with Promonio, building team and the company with Renat, having what Renat called the fun clients, people who love to work with creating this environment that is not just obviously the success of the business and the client, it's really fun to work with an exciting businesses. I'm really eager to work from that perspective. I would say, from a personal perspective, mentoring more women, create more opportunities to women in tech, to want to be speakers, and really expand my power to do so. And in the simplest way, to live peaceful life, to be content, and to be in a good place, like to be in a place that I'm really grounded and connected to everything I do stuff with passion, and find balance between my hobbies, my art, and my business.
On that very beautiful and positive note, I think, Hila, we can thank you for taking out the time. I know it's been a busy week for you and you have a lot on your plate, but thank you for taking out time and speaking to me and sharing your insights with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Hila. This was really, really good.